Joining me today is New Hampshire State Senator Dan Feltes. So Dan, you know, we talked a little bit about the budget, and I actually may come back to that in our last segment, and but we also talked about sort of the First in the Nation primary with all the candidates coming here. And I'm asking some of my guests, if you were to give the candidates, and in your case, primarily the Democratic candidates, advice for what issues you believe will really resonate in New Hampshire, what advice would you have for them?
I think it's kitchen table issues. It's how to expand opportunity for everyone, not just those at the very top. And in particular, how do you close the opportunity gap between kids that grow up in low to middle income family versus kids that grow up in upper income families? How do you do that through early childhood education and expanding opportunities there? Affordable child care for working families. You know, things like paid family leave, flexible family leave, those type of issues are very important. You know, we also need to talk about how to make the system and our system of taxation more fair for working families, when those at the very top are paying disproportionately less than middle income folks. I think a lot of people see that and say, why aren't we investing more in ways to expand opportunity for everyone, including infrastructure, education, and healthcare that benefit me and my family, but everybody's family? And why are folks at the top paying a lower effective rate than in some cases I am? So those are the issues that I think the presidential candidates, Democrat and Republican, should focus in on, in particular closing the opportunity gap. You know, we certainly see that conversation unfolding on the Democratic side. You hear it occasionally on the Republican side. Unfortunately, what we're hearing a lot on the Republican side is Donald Trump saying something and then the other Republican candidates responding to Donald Trump. And I don't know if that's necessarily healthy for our democracy.
Certainly, we try to focus on policy, and occasionally we'll get into the politics that help shape policy. And I can see nationally that there's more of the, let's focus on how we handicap and who's getting this jab or that jab in, and that may make for good sound bites. It's probably not good public policy discussion.
I completely agree with you. There's too much focus in the media on the horse race and how this might affect this person or that person. This person said X. What does the next person say about that? And there's an element of a false equivalency there, that somehow what some candidates say is equally important as other candidates, when in reality what you should be doing, in my view, respectfully, the media and all of us, is digging into what candidates say on policy and what are their actual substantive proposals for the country, for moving our economy forward, for helping people. Because after all, that's what it's about. It's not about you know, the individual personalities. It's about how do people help one another in public service.
Right, and I mean, there are political differences.
Right.
And we're a democracy.
And that's fine.
And, you know, that's the way things work. People will decide sort of what is, they believe, at least at this time, the right path forward. But you need to understand what the paths are.
Exactly. And fundamentally, that's what elections are all about. And what they should be about is the issues that people care about. As I talked about earlier, the kitchen table issues. How do you close the opportunity gap to help low to middle income families have just as much opportunity as a wealthy family? A kid that grows up in a low income family who's smart and works hard and plays by the rules should have the same opportunity to get ahead as someone who was born into an upper income family. How do you close that gap?
Do we see that gap in New Hampshire?
We do. The gap exists in New Hampshire. You know, there's a good book by Dr. Robert Putnam called Our Kids. Some of the same research he has done in New Hampshire, where you see that opportunity gap growing. And the fundamental question I would suggest for all of us is, what are the substantive public policy ideas that you have to close that opportunity gap?
So we have about 30 seconds left. Do you have one idea that would help close that?
One idea.
I know we can go more, but in a little bit of time, what is one concrete thing that the government could do to help close that?
I think you got to move forward in New Hampshire with full-day kindergarten and early childhood education. You have to do universal pre-K.
So that universal pre-K, early childhood education,
correct,
would narrow that gap.
Yep.
Well, with that, we got to stop in this segment.